Welcome to the Libertarian Counterpoint. You've heard their point. Now, here's the counterpoint. Your host today is James Just, with guests Kevin Moore and Gia Christopher. Now, here's James.
And thank you for joining us. We are, I got some feedback. I apologize. I forgot one thing. So, we will manage. All right. With me today is Gia and Christopher and Kevin Moore. Gia is chairwoman from Placer County, and Kevin is chairperson from Contra Costa, if memory serves.
That's correct.
That's correct. Great. All right. If you guys would like to give our viewers just a quick, less than a minute rundown of why you're running for the Northern County chair. Or coordinator, I apologize. Got the chair on the head. Gia, you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. I'm running for Northern Area Coordinator because I am pretty central to the entire Northern area. I'm a pretty quick drive to the Bay Area, to the mountains. I can go in any direction in about 2 hours and be pretty much anywhere. I have a love of liberty. I love bringing people together. I love throwing parties. I want to have fun, and I want to inspire other people to come and have fun with us libertarians. I also want to put on some parties and do things that highlight the best parts of libertarianism. The Second Amendment, huge. I want to put on a Northern California bipartisan, multi-county gun training for novice gun owners, because California has an influx of brand new gun owners, which is awesome, but it's also a little bit scary. And so I would like to provide a public service to these people. And I know a couple of range masters who would provide time. And I just thought, well, that would be a really fun way to provide a service to the community and then bring a lot of different people together who have common interests and common goals. And so that's just one of a couple of different ideas that I have to enhance our membership, grow affiliates, and just basically grow general grassroots support for libertarianism as a ideology.
Well, that would be something for someone good like me who's used to a bow and arrow instead of a gun. That's from my experiences. It was a bow and arrow. And up in the northern area where you're talking about the area of Jefferson, it's that's just big issues up there. And so there's some play there. Kevin, how about you?
Sure. Let me start with a quick introduction. My name's Kevin Moore. I have been a Northern California resident for 30 years now. I am a lifelong libertarian with a small L and joined the California Libertarian Party back in 2016. And since then, I've been an activist working to help bring liberty to counties in the Bay Area, working with the state party and national to do what I can to help get the word out about the libertarian message. Most recently, I was National Volunteer Coordinator for Joe Jorgensen for President and Spike Cohen. And I also have been working as the chair of the Affiliate Support Committee to help these young organizations for the counties get up and going. A lot of these groups, they don't know the resources they have available to them. And the area coordinator is that link between the county chairs and the county teams and the executive committee to help them know what resources they have. The biggest reason I'm running is I'm frustrated. I see all these amazing libertarian people in the Northern California area, in Jefferson, in all of these smaller counties, but there really isn't that much activity there in an organized way for the Libertarian Party. And I think I have some ideas to help make that happen. I'm sure we'll be talking about some of those in detail along the way, but one of them you hit on, which is we tend to think of it as counties. And a lot of times counties aren't the right way to think of it. When you're looking at, say, Modoc County, where there's maybe 10,000 people up there and it's very far away, it's hard to get a group together up there. I'm looking for various ways that we can have a place for everyone who's interested in libertarian ideas to meet and have fun and just have a good time talking about libertarian concepts and learning about libertarianism with people in their area. And I've got some ideas about how to do that, and I'll be happy to go into that more as we go along.
Yeah, no, this is a good discussion. We've got 3 chairs here. I'm relatively new to the chair business, and you guys are both far more experienced than me. Now, I'm lucky here in Sacramento. I have an experienced team to kind of fall back on, to lean on when I have needs for knowledge and needs for resources. Say, hey, what do I do? I have people to lean on. But, if you're a new county, if you're starting up an affiliate, or you're, just a new board where you only have maybe one person has any kind of experience at all, things like being a treasurer or being a chair, running a meeting can be a hurdle. How do we, as chairs or as executive committees, how do we shorten that learning curve? Because that learning curve is a big barrier to participation. So how do we shorten that learning curve?
James, I'd just like to take a second to basically do a call out and recognize Kevin Moore, because Kevin, you are an awesome chair. You are an incredible activist. You are a very dedicated volunteer. And however this ends up going, I just want you to know that we have to work together, because we are on the same team. We want the same thing, and let's make this fun. And I just want to recognize you for all of the incredibly detailed, you pay attention to detail. You send out very robust emails, and I can tell that you spend a lot of your own personal time dedicated to growing our movement. And I want to recognize you for that, and I thank you.
Thank you, Gianna. I'd like to return that comment. I've heard so much about the things you've done, the actions you've taken to help get things going during the Jorgensen campaign and the event you had up there in Placer County. Some amazing stuff going on up there. And like you said, I think we'll make a great team. We have different skills, different capabilities. It's one of the reasons I reached out to you a while back saying, hey, we talked about up in Oroville and the new Chico organization for some of the counties in that area. I think there's a lot that can be done there. On the other hand, I'm closer to Humboldt, to Mendocino, the Bay Area counties, even Napa. I actually was looking it up. It turns out we're just about equidistant from Reading. It's the engineer in me. I tend to look at that. So I think we split the state pretty well east to west. I'm a little further north, even though I'm in the Bay Area, I'm in the far northeast of the Bay Area, so I'm pretty far up there. And if I may, I'd like to take the first crack at James' question of, hey, how do we help these new county chairs? We've had several new pro tem county chairs who have joined up and then very quickly they backed off. We had that happen in San Joaquin. Actually, that's not northern, but it happened there. We've had some people step up and express interest both in Chico for Butte County and also up in Reading. And I think the thing is that we hit them with a fire hose. Someone says, I'm interested, and they've got 27 people calling them saying, hey, here's the 25 pages of things you need to do to establish an affiliate. Let's mellow out a little bit. Hey, pick a time and a date to have dinner and beers with people who want to hear about the Libertarian Party once a month. And when you've got 3 or 4 people, let's talk about taking the next step. Let's not worry about FPPC filings and establishing a bank account right off the bat. Let's get people coming, and then we can take it from there. Other than that, I've been working with the Affiliate Support Committee to come up with a list of resources that are available to them. And one thing that I'd like to do is establish Big Brother, Big Sister organizations. I reached out to Santa Clara. I asked them to connect with San Benito and Santa Cruz, who've been struggling a little bit, especially during the COVID times when people can't meet in person. They're not in the same region, but still they're neighbors. And it's great to have that critical mass next door if there's a small struggling group, to know that there's someone big who can do something that's nearby. I think those are a couple big things that I think are important. And in helping these smaller groups get going is, let's not set expectations so high that they feel they can never win.
Yeah, Jen. So how can we help that communication? I mean, communication between chairs is probably a big thing. How can we help do that?
Okay, so as far as like growing a new affiliate or a fledgling or an emerging affiliate, I absolutely agree with what Kevin says. Let's not bog people down with Robert's Rules of Order. Let's not make them speak parliamentary. Let's not make them take minutes and hire a set of lawyers and accountants on the first day. They'll get scared, they'll run away, and I would. And it took me years to finally, as a libertarian, want to get involved in the Libertarian Party, because as volunteers, it's a lot of work. So when you work your real job and then you get off work, do you want more work? Or do you want a place where you can break bread with like-minded people and share activities and have a sense of community, even if it's just a place where, like you just once a month, libertarians get together and have a beer and share a pizza. If that's all it is, that's enough, because that's where the great ideas are hatched. Like, hey, you know what we should do? And that's when it goes, like, that's when you have a group of volunteers that want to take that ball and they roll with it and they play the game all on their own. So I think that if we can create or facilitate events that people get to actually have that cathartic person-to-person interaction, I feel like that's the best way to get new affiliates up and running, is to encourage community. So let's get community going first.
Yeah, there's that social club versus the political club, and I always, when you have to do both, right? The social club brings people in, and then you get the people who do work. And I always say there's a difference between activists and volunteers. Is because volunteers need some guidance, they need some structure, and activists will create their own. Activists, you simply give them a direction, and they will go off and run themselves, and you help them with some resources on occasion. Volunteers need a different type of engagement. And so how can we help people like myself who are maybe starting to do that for the first time? How do we help them learn how to do that? How do we help them learn how to become good activists while also managing volunteers?
Well, I think that's the number one thing about libertarians. What's our motto? Libertarians do it voluntarily. I mean, it's not like you have to twist our leg. When we had the Joe Jorgensen summit over here in Roseville in 2020, I had dang near as many volunteers as I had paying customers. Every single person that showed up said, hey, how can I help? And it turns out that is not something that you need to convince a libertarian to do, is that they need to help. They want to help. And so if you can give them a clear role, like here's how you can help, they'll do it happily. And that is what I would like to see more of, is some ideas, like a grand scheme of an idea that we can succinctly give volunteers roles. Who wants to play this role? Who's good at this? Who's good at that? And then let people nominate themselves and go, hey, I'm good at this. I can do that. Put the big picture together and let people have their individual roles. And I really think that the Libertarian Party as a political party, one of the things about libertarians is we hate politics.
Yeah, but you have to be a party, you kind of have to play politics. It's that thing you end up kind of hating yourself. It's a strange thing. Running for office, it's a strange thing. You hate what you're doing, but you also have to do it.
We actually
what choice did you have?
Want to create something beautiful to light it on fire and watch it burn.
But Kevin, if we are going to actually create more people to run for office, we have to create the willing environment, an environment where people like myself feel that there's if not necessarily resources, if there's a community they can turn to for support, if only emotional support. So how do you have a plan for helping that?
Right. And so, the Republican and Democrat parties, they've got a county organization in every county. And interestingly enough, they've got about as many people who are actively involved in those as we do. Because people don't think they have to do anything for the Republican or Democrat Party. They just kind of exist without any effort. But we're not there yet. And I think, to go back to your last question, how do we get activism going? How do we get the resources in place for those counties? It's dangerous to start with that, with new fledgling counties, because there's so much to do just to get people engaged and involved, that if they really want to have a specific thing that they do for some type of activism, that's great. Hey, I'm not going to stand in their way. But pushing them to do that can be a bit much when they're starting, when they've only got 2 or 3 people. And, I've been there in our county, when I first started out, there were times like, hey, are we going to have 3 people at our meeting this month? And that's a hard feeling when you only got 2 people there. Now we got like 10 people coming to every meeting, and that's not a question. I've got people coming to me saying, hey, we need to do more stuff. How can we get involved in activism? And so I like to look at it as there's the budding organizations, and that's where having a big brother or big sister can really help. Is, once every quarter, hey, a whole bunch of people flood in, and you get that feeling of community from the neighbors around you, not just from your local people where you might not have that many folks. For larger organizations like Sacramento, Placer, Contra Costa, we're looking to take it to the next step. And I've been looking at different things. I've got a bunch of jobs that we've posted on a Google Doc on our website and on our page, where if people want to help, these are things we want to do. And people are gradually picking those things off, and we're having speakers come in. And right now we're engaged in a campaign. We're going out and talking to non-essential businesses to get their input and tell their story. And we're going to put a video together that talks about their experiences and what it's been like dealing with Contra Costa County, because they've been really horrible here in the Bay Area with shutting down small businesses and not letting, the big monoliths like Target and Walmart and Costco run the whole show. So now we're at a place where we can engage with the county supervisors and we can support some different organizations. And I think that one of the key things is the national area coordinator is that liaison to let the county organizations know the resources that are there. I've heard some recommendations about having a monthly meeting for all the county chairs. I love the idea. I also think that people have enough monthly meetings that they might be a little bit overwhelmed by it. So there's a balance there somewhere of making sure that people know something's available, maybe a drop-in meeting instead of people thinking that, oh, I got another meeting I got to go to. These are some ways to facilitate that communication. Along those lines, county chairs, I tried to organize something for the Bay Area. Hey, let's have a Bay Area leaders meeting once a quarter. And it never really came together. People are busy with their own counties and they got enough other meetings. A lot of people at this level are also on 3 or 4 committees. We got the convention coming up. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, let's make some progress. What can we accomplish with this? But I've rambled here a bit. I think you get the idea of what I'm thinking about for communication and how to make sure the counties have the resources they need.
Good. Gia, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I absolutely agree with everything Kevin said. Part of the thing that we need to do is we need to identify new libertarians. I do feel like everyone is libertarian, they just don't know it yet. They don't know about us, or they haven't been able to express that part of their identity in a safe place. But I do think everyone is a libertarian, because if you look at the opposite of a libertarian, you have an authoritarian. And who would you rather be? Who would you rather your neighbors be? Who would you rather your government be? A libertarian wins hands down every single time. And so what we need to do is we need to identify these little pockets of libertarians and help grow those little communities. And so I'm personally aware of some little communities of libertarians that are already hanging out and doing libertarian stuff together. They're just not doing it with the L on their banner. So you've got the parental rights, health, and freedom activists. They are libertarians through and through. Everything that they do is voluntary. Everything that they do, they are very passionate about. And it turns out that they are very disgruntled Republicans, very disgruntled Democrats, and they are libertarians. So I feel like if we can capture these little splinter cells and let them know, like, hey, we're a home for you and we can do this together. Like, we are a very, we're a ragtag team, honestly. Like, what do we get? We get a little bit less than 5%, right? Well, if everybody, and they say, well, I would love to vote libertarian, but you guys will never win. Well, if we got every single person that said that, then we would definitely win. And so I would like to be able to identify these little microcosm cultures and help them do their activism as libertarians. Because that's where, I think that's where a lot of us also started. We start either as an anti-war activist and you realize you're a libertarian. You might start off as a legalized drugs activist and you realize you're a libertarian. How about ending police brutality? And that's when you realize you're a libertarian, right? So you've got all of these health and freedom, End the Fed, Sound Currency. You've got all of these little groups where they have this one thing in common and they do activism together. Let's let them know, hey, do this with us and we'll do this with you. We are all together. Let's do this activism together.
Okay,
and
one
so
more
that's what
question.
I'd like to do.
All right, one more question on outreach and messaging. We've got one of the things a lot of people do is use newsletters, and newsletters can also be used, if you design a newsletter, it can also be used as literature drops, right? You can create a newsletter and you can use it as literature drops. But one of the issues we have is actually content creation. How can we help get content to these affiliates so they can actually put together a newsletter quickly without having to go through the trouble of trying to write their own messaging, trying to come up with, because most of us aren't writers. And so having someone who can write so you can get a message and you can get clear messaging, put it into a template, print it out, and get it to some volunteers to go out and drop it just in their neighborhood. But how can we get that messaging? Of just getting messaging to the affiliates.
Thanks, James. That's an excellent question. And I actually have been working with Peter Molds, who's the communication director of the chair of the communication committee for the LPC, to see what we can do to get some content out there for all the counties. Because there's a lot of things that are generic, right? A message about ending the wars, a message about lowering taxes, a message about stopping this high-speed rail fiasco that's been going on for forever that we keep voting against and that Newsom keeps pushing forward. We can have someone professional write that up. We even have resources to translate into Spanish. That doesn't matter as much for us, most of the areas up here, but some places it can make a big difference. And I think the Hispanic community is particularly libertarian. There's a lot we can do there. A lot of people in the Hispanic community are small business owners, people in the beauty industry, people in the landscaping industry, people who are other sorts of sole proprietors, and they want the government to leave them alone. They see how these lockdowns have affected them. There's definitely a place for a central set of resources to do that, along with some of these other capabilities.
Okay. All right, Jim, one of you guys want to finish up? We've got a minute each for you guys to kind of give a finished closing argument.
Yeah, so I like where Kevin is going with this. It sounds like he has some great resources, because why should we have to reinvent the wheel every single time we want to make some progress? It would be awesome if, and I don't know if this exists, but it would be great if we had a almost like a wiki of, like, if you need something, like everything you make gets uploaded and is shareable. So if we put together a really thought out newsletter on a current event, we shouldn't have to, that should be shared intellectual property. And if it's something that you are interested in sharing, we should have the ability to just go ahead and reuse that copy. Because I think one thing that the opposing teams, and I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats, one thing that they get really well is they have so many resources, and they have perfected the, like they've McDonaldized it. That's why when you hear somebody say the new normal on the news once, you hear it a million times, because they are so good at creating these little buzzwords and making it go into the into the stratosphere. We should be able to work together to basically copycat each other and spread our ideas. So if that exists, if it doesn't, then let's make it. And if not, then yeah, I mean, let's do that. I would love to be the Northern area coordinator. I have some pretty cool ideas. I love people. I love being a libertarian. I don't necessarily love the minutia of the party with the business and the rules and I hate the government. Let's just be honest. Hate the government. So I'd like to see a new society form of libertarians so that we can overthrow this tyranny and we can live free. And so if, it takes throwing some cool parties and breaking bread with my neighbors, hey, that's an easy volunteering act for me. So, but if it's not me, then it definitely should be Kevin, because Kevin is a top-notch volunteer. He puts his heart and soul into every single thing he does, and he is definitely the most dedicated volunteer I've ever met. So thank you, Kevin, and it's going to be fun at the convention. I can't wait to see you guys.
Thank you, Gia, and I'm looking forward to seeing you down there too. Yeah, as you were mentioning, having best practices for the counties, tools for people at every level, whether it's just an emerging county, a growing county like ours, or the larger county like Santa Clara has kind of in its own space. They're rocking it down there. We've started doing some of that work on the affiliate support committee, and I'll share some links on my page here later today about what we've done so far. But there's a lot more we can do to make sure that there are resources available for all the counties that need them, that they know that those resources are out there for them. And as Northern Area Coordinator, I look forward to helping make that happen. I hope that I will be. But if not, Gia's fantastic as well. I'm excited to work with her, whether I am the Northern Area Coordinator or whether she is. And I also wanted to point out one more thing, and that is there's one more thing that we need to make this happen, and that's you right out here. Those of you listening in who are part of the Libertarian Party or maybe thinking about being libertarians, we need your help. You might think, oh, I've only got an hour or two a week. I don't have that much time to help out. A lot of the people you see sitting on this stage, we're on 4 or 5 different committees. We would love to have someone to hand a few little things to. Just last month, we had a volunteer, he wasn't even from my county, offered to do some research for our county and come up with a list of all of the politicians and what party they were with and whether they were libertarian friendly or not for the top 10 cities in our county. And we're already talking with some of them about, what their beliefs are and how they feel about certain, authoritarian stances and whether they might be willing to consider the Libertarian Party and our ideas. So we need your help. It's going to take all of us to make this happen, both here in our counties and in some of the new counties around the state.
Yeah, well, I think the northern area is in good hands no matter what happens at convention this weekend. So I want to thank you both for being here. I want to thank you both for all the work you have done and the work you will continue to do. And I look forward as chairs working with both of you ongoing in the future to spread the liberty to help grow the northern counties. That's I have my task, and I want to echo Kevin. If you have 20 minutes a week, I can use you. So you don't need a lot of time. I will find something for you to do. And I think most chairs, most boards are the same way. For those of you at convention, have a good time this weekend. Don't do anything I would do because it'll get yourselves in trouble. And from the team here at Libertarian Counterpoint, thank you for watching. Good night, and please remember to love everybody.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Gia.